Was good? YouTube Flash Speaks back for another video. Now listen, everyone sees things differently. God made us all different, different levels of understanding, different perceptions, different ways of perceiving things, and basketball is no exception. I've accepted a long time ago. Everyone sees the game differently, you know. But I'm always interested in why you see it the way you see it. I'm not here to say the way you see it is invalid, and the way that I see it is the only way to say it, to see it. However, I like to argue the points, especially with my fellow content creators, and this here is no exception. This was a brother who has a young channel. I say go to his channel, support his channel. Without a doubt, needs to grow. A young channel kind of like mine. I've been there, still young. But he saw the game, the USA Women's game that we all saw, and came to a completely different conclusion. And this is just one of those instances where that happens. And hey, that's cool. But I want to chime in on what he said because I started to comment in his comment section, and I don't think that I would have been able to get all these points off. So I decided let's do it this way. And then I also think this can help his channel as well. So we have all of those things in mind here when we do this. Not trying to embarrass the brother, not trying to make anyone look bad or make myself look good or anything like that. But I just really want to have these conversations. And even perhaps if in the future he can come on my channel or I can come on his, we can have a live debate. I'm open to that sort of thing as well. But anyway, let's get right to it. Problem with the sound. Let's fix that. I hate when this happens. I hate it.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Mark Smith. And we just got done watching one of the most exciting games thus far in the 2024 Olympics. The last game in the 2024 Olympics, the last match, the last anything, because now the Olympics is officially over. And it was between USA women's basketball versus France, and France gave USA women's basketball everything they had, even up to the last wire when Gabby Williams' foot was on the line when she tried to make a tie for the game at the end of the fourth quarter. And it was exciting. It was fun to watch. It was fun to watch France kind of galvanize their troops and almost pull up what would have been one of the greatest upsets ever, because the USA women's basketball team is the most decorated team in the history of probably the Olympics, if we're really being honest. And just watching the game, it was a lot of things that were going on, but Gabby Williams was very special. She plays for the Seattle Storm. She needs to get more minutes. She was a bucket. She really put the team France on her back, and she really was dominating. Asia Wilson didn't really shoot the ball particularly well, but her ability on the defensive side on the basketball court, getting out on the perimeter, guarding guards, she was incredible, as well as Breanna Stewart grabbing rebounds and grabbing boards. But now that we got that all out the way, now that we congratulated Team USA women's basketball, 8th straight gold, that is super, super impressive. That is something that has probably never be done ever again for a team. They are phenomenal. They are great. They are truly one-on-one, but it was a lot of politics that went on in the women's basketball for the USA side, and there's been a lot of conversation that has gone on for women's basketball on the USA side. So much conversation about the players that should have been there that wasn't there, and we really didn't hear much due to the fact that the women's basketball team was dominating. But today, it was as clear as day that Caitlin Clark should have been a part of the USA basketball team. And I'm going to give you...
All right, now, before we get into that, I'm going to let him get into that, right? But first, he mentions that there was a lot of politics going on. I need to hear more clarification on this. What politics are you talking about? To me, it seems like politics would have been placing Caitlin Clark on the team, right? Because if you're talking about politics, you're talking about things. Let me get this straight. You're talking about things or reasons that the committee, or things that the committee will be doing for reasons other than purely putting forth the 12 best players on the court or the 12 best players that fit together. Whichever way you look at the best team. Politics to me would seem like you will be putting people on the team for reasons other than 12 best. Now, the only argument anyone can make against any player on that team, I believe, would be Diana Taurasi, and the argument is she's 42 years old. The counter argument, however, is that Diana Taurasi has 5 gold medals and that her experience could be instrumental in helping along many of the first-time players who've been there. So while one could say she's there for political reasons, the other could also say validly, in terms of countering that argument, that her experience is useful. So I don't see where the politics happens. Seems to me like people who want Caitlin Clark on there, they're the ones who want politics. They're calling for politics.
Several reasons why, but most importantly, we're going to talk about initially the issues that we saw throughout the tournament for Team USA. And this was the first time they went up against a team that really was able to not only be small, but also play with a fast tempo and pace. That's what France did. And when we were watching USA basketball, we watch women's sports in general, it's a lot of sets being ran. It's a lot of design plays being ran in the half court because the game is more predicated on skill set than athleticism. But when you need a player to be able to break down a defense, we need a player to be able to have some flair and creativity. We need a player that can find an open man and be a playmaker for your team. It was one that was at home. And even
Interesting. All right, so first he says that France was able to go small and was able to play at a fast pace. I find that interesting. The purpose of fast pace is to create more possessions creating more possessions in order to have more scoring. That's typically what happens with faster pace. This game was 66-67. France scored 9 points in the first quarter. The United States scored 15 points in the first quarter. Okay, so you're talking about a halftime score that was at 35-35. So France was moving at a faster pace than they completely failed. So I think his argument there, his premise is false, that they were able to move at a faster pace. Now, if he means in their half-court sets they have a lot of movement, I agree with that. But up and down the floor, this was not a fast-paced game. What it was a defensive game, which we'll get into a little later.
You look at the women's USA roster, when they finally start playing Sabrina Ionescu more minutes, great things tend to happen for Team USA women's basketball when they start playing her more minutes. But it just goes back to watching this game. I couldn't happen but think in my mind that, wow, not only did they need Caitlin Clark for a marketability standpoint, because even if you watch today's game with France and versus the Team USA, the stands weren't as big as many projected, even though France was essentially had a home game. So
now he's arguing that the stands weren't full, even though France was at home. So he's of the belief that French people, not Americans, but French people, would have come more out to see Caitlin Clark. So his argument is he believes that French people were more interested in seeing Caitlin Clark than seeing their own French team. Bro, that's a hard sell. If you believe that, that is a hell of a thing to believe. I don't believe that at all. Now, where Caitlin Clark helps in terms of viewership is for that fan base that is in America who only watches Caitlin Clark to watch the Olympics. I think it's undeniable to say that they will help in that area. But to try to sell anybody, especially me, on this idea that the stands would have been full by French people from France, so you believe people from France will be, rooting for the United States because Caitlin Clark's on the team, over rooting for France? Is that what we're thinking? Is the delusion to that degree? Interesting.
From a popularity and a branding standpoint, we look at Caitlin Clark and we look at her greatness and what she does for the women's game for is her overall growth and her overall popularity. She's the most popular women's basketball player today. And I look at the dream team. And with the dream team, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Charles Barkley, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. I look at the dream team and how the dream team was built, and one of the reasons why the dream team was formed for them to dominate globally, but also for them to really build and promote the brand of basketball for USA men's.
All right, I don't know how old you are, bro, but okay. The reason in 1992, the primary reason they decided to allow professional players to play, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, all of them, was because in 1988, the U.S. national team, which was formulated by college players, had lost to Russia. That was the reason. They came to the conclusion that Russia and other teams around the world were playing professional players against our college kids. That was the primary reason why they did that. The secondary reason, sure, promote the brand around the world. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why they really almost begged Michael Jordan to be a part of it. Michael Jordan didn't care; he had already played in the Olympics, already had a gold medal. And this was in the 1984 Olympics. He already had one, so he really wasn't interested. But then they basically, begged him to come, so he came for that reason. Now the interesting thing was when the Dream Team was over there, you found out they were already popular anyway. Most of those players, overseas were already fans of theirs, and they were already, wanting autographs from the Dream Team after the games and so on anyway. So it isn't like them playing in 1992 made the game more global, more popular. They were already popular anyway. So, but when they went over there, okay, it allowed people to see them play in the Olympics. Really, this idea that became popular because of that is just really not really true. It was Michael Jordan who did that.
This was the perfect opportunity for the women's game and also USA women's basketball to really promote the brand of the women's game globally, similar to the 1992 Dream Team. And even Draymond Green came out and stated this because that is the type of stage where women's basketball is currently in. They're still currently in the promoting and the building and the growing stage, especially when we talk about globally. So not having your most...
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I believe globally, American basketball is fine. It's seen as being the best brand of basketball. Where it needs to be promoted is at home. It needs to be promoted nationally. You don't have enough interest from people in the United States watching. And they're in the process of doing that now. Now, the argument that I don't get that they present is they act as if Caitlin Clark is somehow going to bring more eyes. I don't believe that. The eyes that are already watching Caitlin Clark those people already in their mind believe that she's the most entertaining player, that she's the best player, that she's going to be the best player. They already believe that stuff anyway. So putting her out there will just be an opportunity for those people to see. The reality is if she goes out there and does not play and does not perform well, how does that actually give her more eyes? Because I am of the firm belief that she would not have been one of the best players on that floor at all. I believe she's completely not ready, which we'll go into a little bit later.
Global or marketable or popular player on your roster, even though she is a rookie, whether you played her or not, the game is about popularizing the game. The game is about growing the game, and it's all about branding. It's all about marketing. It's all about increasing eyes on your game so you can increase revenue. And the USA women's basketball did a terrible job by not having Caitlin Clark on this roster. Now,
all right, so basically he's one of those people who believes that Caitlin Clark is popular in China, Czechoslovakia, Serbia, France, all of these different places. He literally just said that the stadium would have been filled more. So the French team, just think about that. The French national team was not able to sell out. But he believes if Caitlin Clark was on the American team, they would have sold out. So the French people would have came out to see Caitlin Clark. Interesting.
Once again, they won gold 67-66 against France. It was a very tight game. But due to everything that's been happening, Caitlin Clark was trending on social media because of the way that the USA were playing. But
yeah, Caitlin Clark is always trending on social media because she has a specific fan base that only cares about her.
Also, the fact that when you watch the game, you notice that it was players that are on this roster that shouldn't have been on the roster due to politics, and that really kind of was hurting Team USA instead of helping them. And we look at Caitlin Clark, we look at a player, once again, that's a generator. She can play make. She can also score in a variety of ways. And we look at some of the guards that they have on this team. It was very questionable. It was questionable decisions of bringing certain guards on this roster over Caitlin Clark and even over Enrique as well. Because
all right, now I'll get into the Enrique part here. Okay. So this is what I'm interested in, the basketball part. I don't really care about the other stuff. All right. So he believes that there are certain players on the team that are there because of politics, and that's why Caitlin Clark wasn't there. I still need to understand the politics argument. I think that's hogwash. I think that's nonsense. When you say I want someone on there for branding and marketing, that's politics. That's politics, right? You can't on one hand act like you're complaining about people being on the team for politics and then argue that someone needs to be there for marketability. Marketability would be more political than just looking for the 12 best players. When you talk about Diana Taurasi, you're talking about someone that has won titles. I believe she's won 2 championships. We talk about Chelsea Gray. I know she has won at least 2 championships. It's hard to argue against them being on the team. Now, you could look at the way they ended up playing and try to, use hindsight and say, well, maybe she should have because of the way they played. But it's hard to make the argument that prior to the start of the Olympics, that she should start over any of them. Right? And then to have her on there instead of Chelsea Gray, who was a member of the Aces, who won 2 titles with the Aces. Your best player on the team is Aja Wilson. Do you think Aja Wilson would rather play with Caitlin Clark over Chelsea Gray, her point guard? What about Kelsey Plum? What about all the aces that are on the team? What about those other players who respect her, like Breanna Stewart? Do you think they want to play with a rookie running the offense? Like, you have to think about all of that stuff. Is that politics? No, that's like someone who deserves to be there. Okay? And then he said Caitlin Clark can create and score in a variety of ways. I'm not sure that you know Caitlin Clark's game, brother. I'm really not sure. I'm really not sure about that. Okay? There's 5 ways of scoring in the game of basketball. There's 5 ways. There is no 6th way. You either get to the rim for a layup. You either play in the post. You either make a free throw. You either make a mid-range shot or you make a 3-point shot. Those are the only ways you can score in basketball. Caitlin Clark is an excellent free throw shooter. Okay? That is the only thing that she does when it comes to scoring excellent. We're talking about upwards to 90%. I don't even think it's quite 90, but close to it. From the 3, well, we've seen her shoot the 3 in college, but right now in the W, she's barely at 33% making her threes. And then the last time we saw her in any type of live action, she was 0 for 7. So is that someone you're bringing for 3-point shooting right now? I don't know. Like, we know in theory she can shoot threes, but it hasn't really been shown to us that in a high-pressure situation that she's the person you want there taking those threes. Getting to the rim, she is not elite at it. I mean, she's a professional player, so she can get to the rim, but you see her in a game like today's game, breaking down any of those women off the dribble and getting to the rim? I know I don't. Does she have a post game? No. So what is all of this? She can score in a variety of ways. Where are people getting this from? I think you're just throwing stuff out there, bro. Like you don't have to do that. And I'm not going to accuse you of like trying to get likes and clicks, but that's just not the reality of her game.
The Team USA, when your sets aren't working, they were really struggling in the half court because they had nobody that could really create off the dribble.
Yeah, they were struggling because France was playing defense. France was playing defense. That's the reason. Okay, and it's not because no one could create in the half court. Right? All right. See, I hate doing this, but I need you people to really analyze Caitlin Clark's game. Caitlin Clark is an excellent transition player. Right? If you get the ball in transition, she has it, and you have cutters and runners and so on, and people setting up to shoot. She's excellent in that situation. In the half court, Caitlin Clark is mainly running the pick and rolls. Like before, she was running the pick and rolls with Aaliyah Boston. Her assists were pretty average, about 5 assists a game, 4 assists a game, something like that. The majority of the year. Once they started implementing the pick and rolls with Aaliyah Boston, it's easy to get 3 or 4 assists with her, and so on. So they're up to 7. Okay, but to believe that you're going to go out there in a game like today and run a bunch of pick and rolls, which really were not available to the team, I got to question your basketball understanding. This was not a game where pick and rolls were going to run, and the pick and rolls are easily taken out if you zone up. Like it's like I don't know what you were looking at, but from what I saw, I did not see a situation where Caitlin Clark's skill set is going to make a difference, and she's not the creator you think she is when it comes to like just getting her own shot. Now, you mentioned Enrique. Right. Enrique is different. Enrique is the one player out of all of the players I can think of that, you add for that specific purpose. Now, if you're talking about just other guards who could play besides Taurasi or besides Chelsea, I could think of Skylar Diggins would work. Ariel Atkins would work. But this is the point that I'm getting to. If you're going to all right, let me let him talk.
And get to work and go get a bucket or play make for others. And that's where Enrique would have came in. That's where Caitlin Clark would have came in because they have that ability to create off the dribble. They have that ability to put rim pressure at the rim and suck in the defense and find the open man, especially Caitlin Clark or Enrique creating off the dribble and getting her own shot. That's what they were struggling. If they would have had...
Oh, my God. He just believes Caitlin has an offense that she doesn't have. Caitlin Clark first of all, she needs screens to get around the defender in order to get to the rim. She's not taking people off the dribble and getting to the rim. Like, what are you looking at?
If they would have replaced, Deanna Taurasi, who's my GOAT, one of my GOATs. Like, they would have replaced Gray and, Jewel Lloyd and Alyssa Thomas. Nobody's going to.
Oh, my God. He said they would have replaced Diana Taurasi, Chelsea Gray. Then he said Jewel Lloyd and Alyssa Thomas. Oh, my God.
Replace Deanna Taurasi. She was going to be on the team regardless. But if you, on a basketball standpoint, Caitlin Clark and Enrique are probably better than all those ladies I mentioned. Chelsea Gray, Deanna.
First of all, please stop saying Caitlin Clark and Enrique. Caitlin Clark and Enrique are not in the same class of player. Enrique is a veteran player who knows how to get her shot in any situation she's already shown. They're not in the same class. Okay? That's been shown a number of times this year when they played against each other. And also, that little all-star game that people, how would you take out of it? They're not in the same class right now. Please stop saying Enrique and Caitlin Clark. They're not the same. And then, Jewel Lloyd, I'm taking your basketball card. If you believe that Caitlin Clark is a better shot creator, can get her own bucket better than Jewel Lloyd, you must not have watched the games where Seattle played against them, against the Indiana Fever. You must not understand skill set. Jewel Lloyd is a 3-level scorer. I know right now she's struggling with her shot a little bit, so is Caitlin. She's a 3-level scorer, elite scorer, and she also is a top 5 defensive guard in the league. When we talk about guarding, okay, she has one of the highest defensive ratings in the league. Now listen, let me break this down as well. Diana Taurasi and Chelsea Gray were not being sat because of offense. No, shots you can make, you can miss, you create. No, they were set because they were getting cooked on defense. They were not able to stay in front of anyone. Um, they're not able to switch fast enough. They don't have the movement right now. Okay, now Diana Taurasi due to age, Chelsea probably due to more injury-related issues. But whatever the case may be, they were set mostly for defensive reasons. This is why Jewel Lloyd, this is why Kylie Copper was put in for defensive reasons. Even Sabrina Ionescu can move a lot better than them right now. That's the problem they were having with them. So if they were going to replace any of them, you would not be replacing them with Caitlin Clark, who's one of the worst defensive players in the league. She has, out of 149 women, she is the 105th. She's the 105th defender, best defender. Okay, she's one of the worst defenders in the league, and and you're talking about a game where the United States were forced to turn the ball over 13 times. The United States turned the ball over 13 times in the first half. And you're talking about players who don't turn the ball over. You're talking about like Grays, and you're talking about Ionescu's and Jackie Young. These are players that do not turn the ball over. Asia. Chelsea had 3 turnovers in this game. She does not turn the ball over and she gets assists. There's no way you put someone who is far and away the greatest turnover machine in the history of the WNBA since its inception in a game like this where this team is playing tough defense. I don't know. Me and you just seen this game completely different, sir.
Taurasi, Alyssa Thomas, and Jewel Lloyd. If they just would have replaced 2 of those players with Caitlin Clark and Arike, we wouldn't have been in this position where it was a dogfight in the fourth quarter due to the fact that nobody could really create off the dribble.
It's not a dogfight off of not being able to create off the dribble. It's a dogfight due to defense. That was a tough defensive team. And creating off the dribble now, you could talk about Arike, sure. Maybe she does. There's times when Arike been locked up. Like DJ Carrington held Arike to like 1 for 8. It can happen. Sometimes you run into a defensive team. You need ball movement, right? You need. Let me just
create opportunities and buckets for themselves. So we wouldn't even been in the spot, and that's just the guy's honest truth. So Caitlin Clark.
No, that's what you believe. You are wrong, though.
Was needed marketability wise, but also Caitlin Clark was needed game wise as well. And that's what people were trying to pretend like, oh, well, she wouldn't have played. She would have been like Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum. That's probably true due to the fact of who the coach was. But at the same time, how can you watch this France versus USA goal game and you notice how they had no guards that really can create opportunities for other individuals, and then they had no players that can really create off the dribble in the half-court setting. So it was interesting to watch this, and once again.
Oh, my God. You really don't know Caitlin Clark's game. Caitlin Clark is a creator in transition. In the half-court, she is not a creator like that, bro, unless she's running a pick and roll. And what happens when you run up against teams like the Connecticut Sun who are not going to just fall for the pick and roll, who know how to take it away? What did she do? When she played the Aces, the pick and roll didn't work. What did she do? Like, I don't think you understand the game. I really don't. The pick and roll would not have been successful in this particular game. It would not have. That's not to say she wouldn't find cutters here and there. The main area where Caitlin Clark probably would be successful is in transition, where, if you're not paying attention and you're running out for those long passes, she's always looking to catch those. But then there's also going to be a number of turnovers in a game like that. And this is what you can't have. You can't have turnovers in a game like this, especially when the United States already had 19 turnovers. With Caitlin Clark, could you imagine how many turnovers you have? Could you imagine? And then the physical nature of the defense. And then you believe in that she can create better than Kelsey Plum, better than Sabrina Ionescu, better than Jewel Lloyd, and better than Kylie Copper is criminal that you believe that. It's criminal that you believe Caitlin Clark is in the class of Arike when it comes to getting her own shot. That is criminal. And this is what we're dealing with.
And Grant Williams came out and he stated about how in the press rooms, how nobody was really watching the women's game, how nobody was really talking about the women's game, and just the overall marketability of the women's game in Paris was really horrible. And he was doing media out there. But the problem is when you have a team that comes out and says, or a committee that comes out and says that we're not really focused on growing the game, we're more focused on just actually going out and winning. It's a backwards kind of like thought.
That's a backwards thought. Winning, that's a backwards thought, right? I mean, let me help you understand this though. Losing doesn't grow anything, right? Winning does. Losing doesn't grow anything. And let's be for real. Most of these players are known overseas already. The American players, they're known overseas already because Diana Taurasi has played overseas. Brianna Stewart has played overseas. Jewel Lloyd, I'm not sure. I believe has played overseas. Alyssa, I know, has played overseas. Brittany Griner, we already know, has played overseas. So the American women are known, right? So the numbers are going to be what they are. Caitlin Clark has not played overseas, and I'm sure it never intends on playing overseas. So there's no logic to it. There's no logic to it.
And you're doing things backwards. And not only that, even though they won, and it's very impressive, and their most decorated team ever for teams-wise goals in the Olympics, 8 straight gold medals. The marketability, this was their best opportunity to grow the game globally due to a marketability factor. Well, not just Caitlin Clark, but also they could have brought on Angel Reese as well. Also having your best players perform and dominate and really go out and show the world how great you are from a global and branding aspect, but also for a game.
How are you not doing that when you won 8 damn rings? Like, this is what I'm saying. You already show how great and dominant you are because you won 8 consecutive rings. You won 60 consecutive games. Like, there's nothing more you can do. Either people are interested in women's game or they're not. The only thing you can do to market is more commercials, more putting it out there, more cameras on the ladies. That's how you do it. Like putting just Caitlin Clark out there and getting these Iowa fans and these other people, these Trump people, to just watch her. That's not it. Because you don't have Trump people in other countries. Let me stop calling them Trump people. You don't have that in other countries. At least not in droves.
Aspect as well. Because you're fooling yourself if you watch this gold game or watch a lot of these games, even though the women's team was dominating each game by an average of 18 points or more. You're fooling yourself if you believe that they couldn't benefit from a marketing global standpoint with Caitlin Clark and also a game standpoint with Caitlin Clark as well, and also Enrique. So
I don't know why you keep saying Enrique, but you fool yourself. You fooling yourself by believing they would have been better with Caitlin Clark. You're fooling yourself. She's not better than any of these women on the team. If you want to say Diana, that's fine. They just want to play Caitlin. Boy.
Shout out to the women's team, though. I'm happy that they won 8 straight. That's something hard to do. Kalia Copper is a bucket. She should have been playing more from the start as well. And it just seems like a lot of politics goes on for us in the game of women's basketball in general. And we've seen it on the largest scale for us at the 2024 Olympics. But at the end of the day, watching this game, Caitlin Clark was needed from a playing and game-wise standpoint. And that's just a fact. We can try to...
Yeah, I'm of the opinion you do not understand the game of basketball, sir. This was a defensive game, and the only thing that would have helped you was digging deep and playing defense. You're not going to be helped by... If you think she's going to be out there just shooting logo threes, then you're delusional because she's not even the best shooter. Now, if you want to make an argument for Enrique, I agree with that. I agree that Copper should have played more, but Copper actually played 22 minutes. Diana Taurasi didn't play at all in this game, so we can't complain about that. Chelsea Gray only played 13 minutes, so, I mean, it worked itself out. Like in most of those games, the women were blowing them out, so Diana Taurasi, Chelsea Gray weren't a problem. It was only a problem in this game, and then she just didn't play them because this game was a struggle. So it really was no issue.
Pretend like she wanted to have played. Yeah, maybe she wanted to have played because the coaches or stuff like that. But if you're watching this game and you're watching the ladies the guards at the guard position, it's only. I'm gonna be honest. Other than Sabrina Uescu, I don't know if Caitlin Clark's not the second best guard in the WNBA.
What the fuck bro? If you ever see this video, we need to debate. Cause you don't know basketball, bro. And I'm done. I'm done with this. This is ridiculous.